And we are categorically live with the first episode of The Last 50 Feet. The Last 50 Feet. The Last 50 Feet is where the physical world catches up to the hype. What we plan to do here is cover what actually happens when autonomous vehicles, humanoid robots, and AI-powered logistics hit the pavement. At grocery stores, retail properties, QSRs, and the first and last 50 feet of every delivery. No vaporware, no lab demos, just the infrastructure, the deals, and the operators making it real. Folks, today, our first guest, we have Sam Lerdahl. Last name correct? Did I say it right?
Yeah, Lerdahl, that works.
I didn't say it right. Sam Lerdahl, the founder of Buncha, and we have my co-host here with me, Ben Seidel, CEO of Autolane.
You could do co-founder I don't know if that matters.
That works. Okay, co-founder of Buncha. Fantastic. Sam, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here today.
Sweet. How are you?
Doing fantastic. You just got back from Utah. You were doing some skiing.
Yeah. Just getting some last power days on the mountain before the season wraps up.
Yeah,
it was a real good time.
Amazing. All right, CEO Ben, you wearing a linen button down today?
It's not see-through, is it?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
We can edit that out in post if it is, though, right?
I don't know if we have the skills on episode 1 to do that, but we can look into it.
We can make a hire. If anyone's out there listening and they have post skills, please contact us. Today's first episode also happens to be sponsored by Maison Perrier. I think it's Maison is how we pronounce it. Wonderful French, unflavored sparkling water. Shout out to France and Macron. Maybe he had something to do with this.
Well, this episode brought more jokes.
I would say for number 1, we're doing pretty well, actually.
Absolutely. No, I'm really glad to be here, and I'm excited to share, about Buncha and what we were up to and what we're still up to. Kind of all the nooks and crannies and the things that made it so great, things that made it hard, and things that kind of propelled us forward.
Sam, give us just a quick overview of what Buncha is.
Of course. Buncha is like the modern day milkman. It's, hey, neighbors, the store is coming, who needs stuff? And so what we did is we worked with, grocers to aggregate their last mile deliveries onto one van. Part of the magic was a marketplace where you could actually order from multiple stores, and it kind of shared the basket at your doorstep. And then also there was a whole supply side of labor and a picking and packing system and all of that logistics work that we also handled as well. So yeah, and it's grown, I believe, raised a little more than $13 million total, working with Meyer and some larger grocers to, again, just bring the last mile to the future and to really bolster the supply chain when it comes down to fulfilling many orders at once.
And you were founded in what year?
We actually started in 2017 as Renera in college. So it was like running errands, kind of like an I fly, you buy model for the guys and I in the dorm.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was conceived in the dorm.
Oh yeah, no, we started off 2017, freshman year college. It was pretty cold. Where basically, like, it was one of those situations where, like, it's, hey, like, you didn't tell us that you were going to grab Chipotle. It's like -10 out. Like, what are you doing? And so we ended up building this system in place that would just allow us to pick up, and I mean, it's kind of snowballed to the guys in the dorm picking up for each other, and just hey, I'm going out. Who needs stuff? And it snowballed from there, and we moved across moved to other campuses. We thought about food deserts. It changed a little bit when COVID hit, and so that kind of forced our hand into grocery. But yeah, it started in college. We actually went to the TechStars program. I dropped out that freshman year, and the rest is kind of history.
And at -10, when you say it kind of snowballed, I mean literally it snowballed in many cases. Yeah, categorically it was frozen and snowballed. That's
absolutely.
How long was the period between when you guys came up with the idea to when you were venture funded?
Man, I about a year, I'd say. It was a year of just like boots on the ground, studying the problem, right? Like, what is delivery? How does it work? Doing it ourselves. Trying to figure out what the core issues were, and really not even issues, like what is like the one problem that is missing that has to be kind of unlocked. And through that first couple of years, when we were trying to do, or when we were starting off and learning with peer-to-peer delivery, was like you're only like nobody knows who's at the store right now. Like you don't know what's available. That's the core issue. It sounds very vague, but like you could build all sorts of features. But the only problem was like I don't know when my friend's at the store. So if I got a notification when so and so walked in, that was all you really needed. And then from there you unlock aggregation, and then you have more problems that that snowball. Like I can't pick up physically 10, 15 pizzas at once. So that's how we kind of learned that as things scale, like again, things crack, and the model changes, and we get involved with the fulfillment of things. You introduce vans, and then you leverage those vans. You leverage the order ahead aspect as well. So yeah, lots of learnings, lots of growings, all real time. But then caught our big break. We actually were during that first year, and my co-founders and I were actually pretty involved in the startup scene. My co-founders were Bharat Pulgam and Josh Chang and Neil Patel. And we actually got pretty close with the Beta Men guys, Ryan Brochard, shout out Match6 Ventures. He's kind of one of the guys that gave us a big break there and took us serious. That helped us, get into the Techstars Target Retail Accelerator program, where we closed some capital and conditions on it where hey, you got to drop out and go full time, and all of us were happy to do it. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
That's amazing. Essentially, all built technology that replicates the question that we all ask ourselves is, hey, I'm going to the store, does anyone need something?
Yeah. And
you took that kind of human behavior and that natural action that we all do for each other, said, what if you were to turn that into a technology platform where someone could digitally raise their hand and say, hey, I'm going to the store, does anyone need something?
Absolutely.
Without personally knowing that person, you could then ask for something to be picked up for you or bought for you, and then that kind of snowballed into a group ordering platform.
Absolutely, yeah. In the early days, we were competing with literally text and Venmo. Like it was like, why couldn't I just text my friends or like have them buy me food next time?
Interesting.
And so, but obviously as the model changed and as we sought product market fit, again that certain things are highlighted, certain things you sunset. But yeah, the biggest thing was that changed things was COVID actually. So when COVID hit, our platform ran on density. It was all about, hey, like I'm going back to the dorms. There's people in those dorms that also want pizza delivered. But if you don't have that, then things don't work. We also tried doing it in food deserts and had some experiments in St. John's and like St. Cloud area, and had found that people were doing even larger runs to grocery stores because going to Walmart was a 45-minute ordeal. Tom is the only one that has a car, so we're gonna he's going out with his car and he's grabbing stuff that we need, and he's taking a check afterward. So definitely a lot of learnings, and just again understanding the nuance between like ordering dinner and lunch versus getting your groceries, which there's a whole lot of difference. But ultimately COVID forced our hand. My co-founders and I all moved back home. And from there it was using our technology to help susceptible neighbors that couldn't go to the store on their own. Like, and so you'd post on Nextdoor with your little pickup link, hey neighbors, I'm going to Costco. My tip is $2, or even at the time free. And we were just helping people and taking care of the neighbors that that raised us. And that felt really good, and I think ultimately kind of led to that initial success where you all of a sudden you had 50, 60 people looking forward to our weekly Costco runs because they trusted the guys from the neighborhood.
That's fascinating. Y'all were in multiple markets, right, at one point, or have you always been in Minneapolis only?
So yeah, started in Minneapolis, quickly branched out, to the twin, out of the Twin Cities to the suburbs. Again, as we grew and realized that Buncha was really great for staples, naturally, we started, serving more and more families, and they're more and more spread out. the like wider Twin Cities areas, we still operate in and are serving, as well as now Meyer, we're or not serving Meyer, which isn't in Minnesota, so we're actually in Detroit as well, and growing really steadily there with them. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we're beginning a multi-city expansion ourselves here at Autolane over the next few months. We've been in San Francisco and Austin for the past 6 months, and we're now embarking on a new chapter. We're going to be opening up Atlanta, Miami, Phoenix, and Los Angeles. Over the next 3 to 4 months sequentially. So it's definitely a exciting time here at Autolane, and we've probably not felt the challenges and the friction that come with that process thus far. So, would love to understand from your vantage point, what are some of the things that first started to break operationally when you got outside of your home, let's say first couple neighborhoods?
Yeah. So a really big thing that comes to mind first and foremost is like you lose your tribal knowledge. And tribal knowledge is really really important in the beginning. It's the difference between knowing which restaurants are going to hit, which when do people do their shopping, which stores are the most popular, and so as you leave the area that you really have to outsource to others for that information, and that involves getting buy-in on your vision. I mean, it's like you can look at what's most popular, but comparing that to again what I call the tribal knowledge, it's a big difference. It's like it's the difference between it's the difference being comfortable and uncomfortable, and so that's a really big part of it. And also too, typically with that comes operational consistency that breaks, right? So because you're less comfortable in those areas, that's that could be as simple as not knowing the roads to I'm physically not there to come save the day. So that kind of ties to like the acts of heroism. It can't save you anymore. Again, in the early days it was, oh shoot, like my car broke down, and it's like, well, Josh can come in and we transfer the orders over. This has happened, and he finishes the job. But that if you don't have that there, then you can't save the day, and then that customer experience is going to be bad. They're going to tell their friends, and you've lost that you've lost that kick. So what's super important as you branch out is having really clear SOPs and really clear repeatable systems that again also aren't gate kept by any certain person. You want to make sure that your org power structure is solid, and again it's just about making sure that if somebody goes, that you can just fill that spot and make sure that the wheel keeps spinning the way that it has to, because if the gears crack, if anything changes, like it affects everything. So that's
Yeah, doing a mental image. How did you scale the supply side? So how did you scale the runners? Did you use more of that like next door approach that you were referring to earlier? How did you find new boots on the ground?
oh man, in the store. In the early days, you just get referrals, whether they're through me or through our shopper network. But literally, I shopped Costco probably 2, 3, 4 days a week, and I'd see somebody that was doing a good job and be like, hey, like, do you want consistent work? It's W-2, it's pre-planned. We'll keep you in the area that you want to be. And part of the pitch is like, hey, it's the same store. So instead of running around, this is like, you go to Costco, here's your list of 150 items to pack within this time frame. And they typically, again, knew the store already because they're already there. So yeah, you just offered them a little more benefit, and had them kind of switch over to your platform. And again, with Instacart being, them being contractors, it was, that was straightforward for the right people.
So you use that W-2 essentially lift to try and convert folks over to work for you rather than being an Instacart contractor.
Yeah, and for the right folks, it was the right gig. The consistency of the orders being prepped the day in advance was really nice for some people, and then obviously other people just want to have that that flexibility, in their schedule.
Interesting.
Didn't you even have a shopper that was living on your couch? You told me at one point.
Yeah, no, that was in in our early days. One of our first drivers when we started getting to that point where we just we couldn't build the business and run the business at the same time. We had to find someone that could that was willing to uh, use an MVP app. Right, it's a hard thing, and yeah, we had a buddy had hired somebody that had moved up from the south and long story short, like the gig fell through, and we were like, let's throw them a bone and see if it works. And yeah, long story short, they didn't have a spot to stay, so for the first probably 2 or 3 months, yeah, they rode home with me and popped on the couch and used my comforter, ate our food, and it was just in exchange like please, 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 just deliver this this Taco Bell on time. It was
What
quite the
people don't
story.
understand about startups is like the gritty reality of behind the scenes is so less glamorous than I think most outsiders would imagine. When you see the news that Buncha's raised $13 million and these top investors are backing it, and it's one of the hottest growing startups in Minneapolis,
And there's a guy sleeping on the founder's couch.
the guy sleeping on your couch, that's that's the part of startup building that I really think deserves more attention and understanding from the wider American audience. Is that it's not it's usually more like that. This is my second venture backed startup, and I can say I have many stories that match that type of a situation from my previous company as well. And it's just what it takes in the early days to get something off the ground and getting it to a point where it's self-sufficient. It's never glamorous,
Especially in the physical world too, right?
yeah.
No, it definitely is not glamorous, and it takes a lot to I'd say like earning your flowers. In my head, it's typically like a 5 or 6 year game of consistency before you'll get any kind of recognition, and that's if you even like press the right buttons. And sometimes you'll grind your teeth, and it's just like there's nothing moves. I mean that was the case for us. I mean in the early days, I mean it was really just seeing what stuck because all we knew is that one-on-one delivery just wasn't it. It was too. I mean, it doesn't make sense to deliver a $12 sandwich for more than $12. And like it's yeah. So yeah, just grinding away at that. And there were tons of competitors that popped up too along the way. But we stuck to our truth and stuck to our guns. We knew what actually worked. We knew what didn't work. We knew it was a gimmick. I was told my co-founder Barat, we're talking to these guys doing this something, these Harvard dropouts in the East Coast, and we didn't have that. We had Carlson School of Management dropout status, but not Harvard or Stanford dropout status. But I always said that like if they ever want to chat and exchange knowledge, like if they figure it, I'd love for them to figure it out because like I just don't think it works, and we tried every which way, and so I was so confident in the product market fit of the actual grocery because yeah, dinner and lunch. I guess yeah, kind of elaborating on the difference between dinner and lunch, right? It's a game time decision. Like I crave pizza and then I'm gonna get pizza for dinner. Like how long does that pizza craving typically last, right? And so it's about throwing that instant discount and getting that spontaneous buy. Whereas grocery, this is a habitual thing. This is like, and on top of that, it's not pizza and cheese pizza and burgers this week and then chicken the next. This is like my bread, my eggs, my milk. Like it's the same thing that I get every time, and I have my same stores exactly. So I have my stores that I go to. I have the things that I buy. It's typically hard to change, and so as you get further along, it's kind of fun to explore. How do you change buying behaviors, especially for the better too? Like how do you get more grocery or more fresh fruits and vegetables into the carts? There was a time where we actually ended up or almost launched our own produce line because we were just moving so much bananas. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
Do you think that Buncha will explore autonomous vehicles as a substitute for drivers? Do you think that's a viable technology at some point on the driver side of the business?
Yeah, I do. I certainly think that that's a natural step in the evolution of things. I always say like we could deliver it in a spaceship. Like all that matters is the items that I ordered are actually in the basket, and it came at the time that you said. Anything else like doesn't really matter. So I mean, yeah, you could train like chimpanzees and elephants to deliver the stuff. Like it doesn't matter. They just have to be on time and they have to do it well. And so yeah, I think ultimately I think you'll see that. I had a lot of questions around specifically getting the groceries out of the vehicle and onto the doorstep. That is probably like the last 50 feet, no pun intended, that actually really matter here because, yeah, if the groceries can't leave the van on time, then you can't get to the next house on time. And we'll have the neighbor come out and do it. It's like they're not on payroll, they're not going to be on time, they have no obligation to be on time. So there's a lot of questions still to answer in that conversation, especially too consistently.
Anything about pricing? Grocery delivery is, a preference that a lot of people have, especially these days. Normally, people are paying for that delivery. So in HEB's example in Texas, it's anywhere between $8 and $15, depending on the speed with which you get it. Of course, Amazon has Amazon Prime, but that's not free, even though it feels free. I know Kroger charges for delivery as well. Instacart, famous for doing that. How much did you all charge for delivery? Let's start with that.
So a lot of the money from the model comes outside of that. So we started with $1.45 simply because it was kind of exciting and it was the cheapest thing there, and it really kind of illustrated and like show no tell. It's like this is because you're waiting and saving, like because you're waiting, you're saving. And so that was a big deal. We slowly moved it up to $3.45. That was because we added custom vehicles that had custom shelving that had kept things cool. So it had to pass on those costs to customers, unfortunately. But at the same time, too, that $1.45 was somewhat arbitrary in the beginning, just to kind of illustrate the concept of waiting and saving, and it being so cheap. They're so affordable.
So it's about like $3 or $4 today.
Yeah, it's about $3.45 today.
Okay. So what? Let's say in Buncha's example, $3.45. That those groceries are delivered to my doorstep, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
If I had to come out to the Buncha car or van to get my groceries in a world in which the Buncha van was autonomous, what do you think the price point would be for that, given there's a convenience trade-off?
Yeah. I ultimately it just depends. And the only reason why I say that because I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you.
You yourself. Let's say it's today you got it for $3.45. Tomorrow you have to go out to the Buncha van and get it yourself. How much would you be willing to pay for that?
If I had to go get it myself, probably a similar cost, or maybe a little less, maybe a dollar or two. The hard part is just the customer isn't a part of the SOP, or they're not on payroll, so there's no obligation for them to be a part of it, and so that's where it would take a lot of testing to understand how to get that person. Kind of like how Uber got the car to show up, and then you have 5 minutes to get to the car, otherwise you're charged. Again, the question there is, so let's say you just you rinse and repeat that process. Well, then you have a van that has someone's groceries on it that they paid for. Are you going to go return those? Can you return those? Do you circle back and try it again? I guess you could, because as long as the car is driving, you could circle back. So that's the innovation the exciting part of the innovation, that we haven't been able to ask those questions before, because the car's never just been rolling around. But then it matters. Maybe you're paying for the cooling cost too. So every minute that the car is circling around with your stuff in it afterward, it costs money. Again, I'm not sure. But certainly, again, what excites me is the opportunity, and just the ability to experiment. Again, is really exciting there. Ben, I saw your post about testing the robot with, with the bags, the handles, and I was thinking to myself like, okay, do all bags in the future then have to have handles? And I should get into handle technology. I was
Yeah.
thinking about like
We've been exploring a lot of this stuff, and I don't think that there's going to be one dominant answer. It's going to be ultimately dependent upon the environment that autonomous delivery takes place in. Meaning, is it a dense urban core? Is it a suburb? Is it rural? Is it in a sunbelt state versus a snowy northern state? What time of the year is it? All types of scenarios are going to require different solutions, and so I think when autonomous commerce begins to blossom, probably later this year, and then, of course, over the next 5-10 years, it's going to become a dominant form factor for delivery. It's going to be a suite of solutions. We see the sidewalk bots having success in cities like Los Angeles and Miami and Phoenix. They've been doing well on campuses for a long time, but those have constraints, and those really can't be the answer for a lot of different types of delivery or different types of customers. And then you've got drones, of course, that are scaling as well. Walmart's doing quite a bit with Wing, Google's subsidiary, and Zipline as well. And so I think we're going into a future, whether people like it or not, where these solutions are going to be peppered into your choices at checkout. And that's kind of why I was asking about the pricing, is I think ultimately pricing is going to be what pushes demand in any one of these directions, where it needs to be a significant price reduction, I think, in order to offset the convenience factor. If I'm not going to get the DoorDash delivered right to my hands and I can stay inside my house, then I'm going to expect to pay a lot less. I'm not going to be tipping. I'm going to have to come out to the car and get it. It could be raining. That's just annoying. But, if it's $2 instead of $14, I'm probably willing to do that. And I think I would venture to guess that most people would be as well. But to your point, it's a whole different paradigm when it comes to consumer behavior, because for the very first time in delivery and retail history, autonomous commerce is going to represent a moment where the cost of time is rendered almost to zero. Meaning, as you were saying about a car or a van waiting on someone to get the groceries, what's the cost of that 5 minutes? Just opportunity cost almost. The car's not driving, electricity is negligible. So if it's zero cost for time, it completely changes cost curves, which then change pricing mechanisms, which supply and demand changes, and then retail and consumer behavior change. So like we're entering into a very, I think, fascinating era of retail, where if we can begin to separate time and labor from retail service, the decision making changes significantly because the costs change significantly. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Well, and one thing, I mean, just piggybacking on that, one thing that I noticed, right, I was thinking about, building this thing is, Amazon had the advantage of just having a warehouse, right, and kind of illustrated, how efficient you can be in your last mile through your warehouse system. There's no people, or there's limited people in it. You can use more robots. You can use drones for your inventory management. There's way more regulation within large retail stores, and so you're seeing this. These stores attempt to play both, or at least try and pivot to at least a competitive degree, where they can pack these orders efficiently. But again, it's really hard to do that. And then with produce, again, it's a whole nother ball game, because these things can go bad, real quick, or these things can melt or get less hot. There's a huge degree of difference in problems that these organizations are trying to solve, and they're ultimately all trying. It's a race to the bottom. How do you have the price or the cost on your consumer be as low as possible? And one of the cool things, again, that you see like as you start, chipping away at, the future of the fulfillment is, okay, well, if you're planning ahead, or if you have, the ability to plan ahead, you can also then like have like sample kits where you can, maybe share the cost with, CPGs that, want their items in the basket. And now it's like, hey, here's this sample kit sponsored by so-and-so. Try this beef jerky, or try, this cereal pack, and they'll pay because, they'll try it. And if they like it, the conversion is tomorrow's delivery versus like, oh, whenever you order next. And so it's things like that, examples like that kind of make me excited for, okay, whatever change happens, there's, probably 2 or 3, more different innovation kind of stems that can come from that.
Amazing. Well, Sam, it's been an incredible conversation. I think I'm excited to check back in with you in, another year or so and see, how Buncha's doing. And I really do think most likely adapting to this kind of autonomous future in some ways. So happy to continue the chat again and check in with you, later in the year. Cam, any final words?
Appreciate you, Sam. Thanks so much for coming today.
Absolutely. No, I always love talking shop. It's rare that you get to talk details about, grocery delivery logistics, let alone, the last 50 feet. So, truly a pleasure just getting to chat with you guys and, share stories and ideas.
Done deal.
Thanks, Sam. And if anyone wants to check out and sign up for Buncha, how should they do that?
They can go to, I believe it's, give me a second, gobuncha.com. I want to double check. Yep. They can go to gobuncha.com and check us out.
Love it.
Sounds good.
All right, Sam. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Later.
Okay. Later.